Hi, Debbie. How you doing?
Well, very happy to be talking with you this morning.
Likewise.
I got to tell you, I am blown away by Enhanced.
Oh, great.
But what you do here, it's not so much the thrills and chills of these high-tech stunts, but this is good old-fashioned martial arts and hand-to-hand fight choreography that you showcase with some great camera work, overhead work. Rusta Zhang's work as a DP really lends itself to the action that you have created with Enhanced.
Thank you. It's really refreshing to hear. Thank you.
You can tell a story, and you don't sacrifice story for action with Enhanced. And that is so important in a film. Something's got to keep us engaged beyond going from this guy beating up that guy to beating up that guy to beating up that guy. And you give us that here.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm flattered.
You know, where did the idea for Enhanced arise? In many respects, it's quite unique, especially since we have the character of Anna essentially teaming up with the man who was sent to take her out, to take her down. So, and the fact it's a male, female, and Anna really she is the film's protagonist.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, I've watched Alanna for years in smaller roles and on her recurring role in Good Witch. To see her here, boy, did you cast well.
We got lucky. We definitely got lucky with her. She's a phenomenal actress.
But where did the idea for this story come from? And to give it that, turn it on its head a bit.
My first film, which was done years ago, Kill Order, we focused primarily on the action and not so much the story per se coming from the stunt world. So after a couple goes at filmmaking, I wanted to do something that was in the same world, and but it wasn't quite, in the mindset of doing a direct sequel. So we came up with this concept and wanted to put my brother Chris in more of an antagonist role. And then my writing partner and I, Matt, developed the idea of a different sort of enhanced being on the run, having to, form an allegiance with the person that was chasing them in the first place, and kind of changing, in order to do so, would have to change their perspective on them and their beliefs on who and what these people are. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of where that kind of stemmed from originally, just staying within the world and within the sci-fi genre.
Well, I really love this blend of the sci-fi, the action, and at its heart, an interpersonal drama. You weave it all together here, because we've got Anna going through a crisis, we've got George going through his own crisis of conscience. The only one not going through a crisis is David, because he is what he is, without giving any spoilers here. I was fascinated watching this, how you differentiate between Anna and David and the lengths that you go to with the character of David as to who and what he is. I really like how you took us into that and where you took that with a character.
Yeah, David was a fun sort of character to work with and create with my brother, because he is, the antagonist, but there is sort of a sadness to his story as well, because, he doesn't have any sort of feeling or emotion. He just thinks what he's doing is the correct action required in order to get to his destination.
Mm-hmm. Now, something that you paid attention to that I very much appreciate is your visual tonal bandwidth in terms of the cinematography, the camera framing, and of course your color saturation or desaturation, as the case may be. Shooting this in the winter with the contrast, the whole metaphor of things are black or white, then you throw in that icy blue contrast of the enhanced that becomes the gray between the lines of black and white, and it is so beautifully captured. And I'm curious about your work with Russ and what your thoughts were in coming up with your visual palette.
So this was the first time I've worked with Russ before, and in doing so, we hit it off actually right away, and sort of were on the same wavelengths from the get-go. We didn't have a ton of prep, so we made a lot of decisions on the fly, and fortunately, because we were of like minds, it's just very easy to keep a consistent tone throughout the film and not have conflicting ideas. Russ and I have gone on to now, we're currently in production for another film, like presently, and the winter had its challenges, but we kind of decided early on that was sort of going to be the staple for the theme of the movie, that kind of feel, that kind of color, and we just went with that. We had limited shooting days, so we had to be conscious of what kind of coverage that we could get in a single day and how much energy we could direct to the fight scenes. So that side was challenging, but we just essentially used the winter palette as a base for everything and just kind of built off of that.
It works so well, especially when we get to the third act, and then you totally turn us as the audience on our heads, and you bring us yellow sunshine and blue skies and green trees and leaves blowing in the spring and summer wind, and it's glorious, like a rebirth of the world. But then you give us some Easter eggs on top of that. So I mean, you zing us, from a story standpoint, but you do it visually. So it's really, you're unprepared for what we get at the tail end of the third act. Totally unprepared. And it's beautiful to see the contrast between life, quote unquote, life and death, which essentially is what we're looking at in this film, and the whole concept of enhanced. Is it life? Is it human? Is it not human? It's it opens up a whole world that you could just explore forever on film.
Yeah, I think, it could act as a great introduction to a much larger world.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see where that goes.
When you were writing this, because obviously you knew you were going to direct it, and that your brother and Chris was going to star as our antagonist, which personally I think every set of brothers should, cast each other, because at some point they are the antagonist in the other's life. But I'm curious if when you wrote, were you writing in specific fight choreography tailored to Chris, or did you wait until you had the script? Because this is very fight-centric, be it with George, be it with Alanna's character of Anna. The fight is integral to the story. It's not throwaway.
Yeah. No, we actually wrote it with the shooting days and the budget in mind, in terms of the action. And, fortunately, like, Chris is such a phenomenal performer that, I can just throw him into any kind of scene and he can make it look good from an action perspective. We have a stunt team here in the city that, we've been together for many, many, many years. So we're able to, pull off some of these scenes in a short amount of time, which is the biggest hurdle with independent independent film because you don't have the days that these big Hollywood blockbusters have. So you got to kind of make it work with what you got. And that's sort of where we have to, where our headspace has to be when we're writing. What do we have access to? How many days can we actually devote to this fight? What's realistic? Chris is actually, can go above and beyond anything in that film, given the right platform. So we're hoping to be able to build to that.
How difficult was casting this film? You've got quite a few cast, most in peripheral background, but casting, you needed people that could do, had physical athleticism and looked the part and that could act for these roles. So I'm curious how challenging the casting was for you.
It wasn't too bad because George, for example, he's a close friend of mine. I've known him for many years. He's a great actor, and he also works as a stuntman as well. So I kind of knew that role was for him as we were writing it. He just had him written all over him. And then Patrick, who played Joseph, he's from Vancouver here in Canada, and he's another actor here that works quite regularly and has a stunt background as well. So that role, we were trying to find someone who had that kind of background so they could do their own action, and Patrick was the right fit for that. In terms of all the other roles, it just sort of worked out in our favor. And when we did the audition for Anna, everybody was the consensus that Alanna was the right fit, right away. It just kind of blew everyone away. So it was a pretty smooth process.
Wow, you really lucked out to get actors who can act and who also have that athleticism.
Yeah, and she dedicated so much time to training because she doesn't actually have any fight background, and she was game to spend every minute she could making it look right. So
yeah, no, it really looked so well. How challenging was the editing process with Enhanced? Because of the fight scenes, and fight scenes are always so difficult to edit so that it looks smooth and you don't get choppy jump cuts.
The fight scenes are actually the easiest for us to edit because we have a process called prevising. So we choreograph and we shoot the fight scenes with my stunt team during prep. And when we go to shoot it during production, we literally copy our previs. We just shoot it shot for shot. So we already know how it's going to be edited in the end before we've even gone to production.
Yeah, because it looks really good, and the scene outside the cabin in the woods with the snow, those overhead drone shots are fabulous.
Oh, thanks.
Really looks good because you get the white of the snow on the ground, you get the black and gray of the stripped birch trees that look like sticks standing there, and then you get your VFX of David or the taser sticks that the military is using. So it looks really great.
Thank you.
I'd be remiss not to ask you about the score here. What were your thoughts on the score for this film? Because you could have gone in so many different directions.
Yeah, we wanted to do something that was relatively traditional, that felt larger than life. And Jim, he's capable of taking it any which way, and we debated for a few weeks as to what direction we wanted to go. Because originally I was thinking of doing something a bit more abstract, and it just didn't feel right. So, we went in this direction and again used sort of the winter season as kind of inspiration for a lot of the score.
It fits beautifully, and it does not detract or take us away from the story at its core, or what is visually unfolding. And I think you made a smart decision to not take something that would be in a juxtaposition fighting against it. It just flows so beautifully with what's happening. Now, at the end of the day, this is coming out this week, and I'm curious, for you as a filmmaker, what did you learn as a director in making Enhanced that you can now, you might be utilizing in Control, which you're either shooting or going into post on, or, and other future projects? What did you learn with this film that you may not have encountered in the past?
I think the biggest thing I learned was just in managing sort of expectations on the day. Things can, when you're doing a shoot with many different locations, things can change so rapidly, and you have to be able to adjust on the fly. In addition to that, it's just focusing on story is more important than anything else, and if the action is done right and integrated with the story properly, then it'll just work. Whereas in the past, I've always sort of just been focused on the action. So in moving forward, sort of as a filmmaker, I think I'm more drawn towards putting scripts together that are really, really tightly knit and tell a great story.
Any chance we'll see a sequel to Enhanced?
I don't know. That's up in the air as of now. Our next sort of like personal passion project, if we wanted to do one, would be a sequel to Kill Order prior to Enhanced, and then, maybe, who knows, but yeah, it's up in the air as of now. We haven't decided.
Well, I, for one, would love to revisit these characters again.
Okay.
I would love to revisit them. James, this has been a delight talking to you this morning.
Likewise.
I love this film. Now I have to go back and see Kill Order because I hadn't seen that before, and I can't wait to see what you bring us next.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, James, and I hope I get to talk to you again in the future.
Same.
Oh,
all right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.